Lauren, as you can see here in this live picture, there is President Trump, the moment we have been waiting for. People had their attention, their phones focused on that right corner with the black curtain. And sure enough, that is where the president walked out of, applauding the audience who have waited, some of them for several hours. Tickets were free, but you had to stand in line, and it was first come, first serve, first seat, I should say, to get that best seat in the House. And it is a packed House.
And he's wearing his signature red tie and black suit. He's very fond of that. We talked about it earlier during this broadcast. Does he stay on script? Does he read the teleprompter? Or does he go off script, where sometimes he gets in trouble? But he feeds off the energy of all the people there, and there are 7,000 plus people there at the Hertz Arena. So we'll see what he has to say in just a moment. And you can see he actually sort of soaks this all in, Jane, as he
steps up on this stage. Let's go ahead and listen in.
Where there's pride in every American heart, and it's time we stand and say that I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free, and I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me, and I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. And I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. And I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. And I gladly stand up next to you and defend her still today. 'Cause there ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA. Whoa!
Hello, Florida. Hello, Florida. We love you, Florida. And I'm thrilled to be back in this great state, the great state of Florida, with thousands of hardworking American patriots. It's an important time in our country. In just 6 days, the people of Florida are going to send Rick Scott to the United States Senate, and Ron DeSantis will be your next governor, Rick and Ron. Before going any further, I want to take a moment to address the horrific shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh. It was terrible. 11 Americans were brutally murdered in an evil anti-Semitic attack. Yesterday, I traveled to Pittsburgh to meet with the families and first responders. And I especially want to thank Rabbi Jeffrey Myers. He was terrific. He was terrific. Fine man. We grieve for the families of the fallen, and we send our eternal gratitude to the law enforcement officers who sustained severe injuries taking down the gunmen. They were incredible. They were incredible. They were incredible. Could have been as bad as it was, and it was bad. It could have been far worse. They were unbelievable, and they got there fast. We pledge our resolve to remove the vile poison of anti-Semitism and so many other problems from our world, and we reaffirm our unbreakable solidarity with the Jewish people. Thank you. Yesterday's visit to Pittsburgh was about coming together as a nation to comfort and to heal. After this day of unity and togetherness, I came home and sadly turned on the news and watched as the far-left media once again use tragedy to sow anger and division. Sadly, they took a small group of protesters far away from where we were because we could not have been treated better, the First Lady and myself, but we're representing the presidency. And they did everything in their power to try to play it up and push people apart. That's what's happening. They're pushing people apart. It was fake and it was make-believe, what they said. I came home, looked forward to seeing it, and it was sad. And when we talk about division, this is a big part of the division right there. The far-left media has spread terrible lies and stories about the Trump administration and the tens of millions of people who make up our great movement, the greatest political movement in the history of our country. The greatest. The greatest. It's the greatest movement in the history of our country, and they don't even refute that fact. It is possibly the greatest political movement anywhere. I can't think of any place else. It's because of you. The movement is you, and it's about you, not me. It's about you. I am proud of the fact that my administration has boldly revitalized our nation's historic bond with Israel and moved the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem. And remember, many presidents have promised to do that. Many, many, many presidents. We are going to move the embassy to Jerusalem, and then they don't do it. The reason is, it is not an easy thing to do. I've done it, and by the way, the embassy is already built, it's already open, and it came in $1 billion less than people thought. They should like that. They should really like it. We've taken aggressive measures against the terrorist groups that seek the slaughter of innocent people all around the world for lots of different reasons. It's terrible. We've taken unprecedented action to confront the regime in Iran, and we have ended the horrible, one-sided Iran nuclear catastrophe. And Iran is a much different country today than the country that started off at the beginning of our administration almost 2 years ago. We have forcefully condemned hatred, bigotry, racism, and prejudice in all of its ugly forms. But the media doesn't want you to hear your story. It's not my story, it's your story. And that's why 33% of the people in this country believe the fake news is, in fact, and I hate to say this, in fact, the enemy of the people. The left-wing media doesn't want to solve problems. They want to stoke resentment. It has to stop. They believe that progress isn't good for profit or for whatever reason it is they're playing their game. Our movement is about safe homes, great jobs for every citizen. Our movement is about love for our fellow Americans. Our movement is for everyone and belongs to anyone who wants to build a better future. You can do it right here in the USA, right here. Just look at the amazing things that we have all done working together. The unemployment rate just fell to the lowest level in over 50 years. More Americans are working today than at any point in the history of our country. Think of that. How do you lose that debate when I'm up against one of these people that we're seeing and watching? Oh, I hope one of them gets that nomination. When you say more people are working today than at any point in the history of our country, I think the debate is over. Hispanic American and African American poverty have reached all-time lows, right, my man? African American, Hispanic American, and Asian American unemployment have all achieved their lowest levels in recorded history. We've eliminated a record number of job-killing regulations, more than any other administration, no matter how long it went. We did that quickly. We passed a massive tax cut, biggest tax cut for working families, and we will soon follow it up with another 10% tax cut for the middle class. And the Democrats want to raise your taxes substantially. Remember that. Remember what Nancy Pelosi said. We will raise your taxes. And I'm trying to say, is that good politics? I don't think so, but she really believes it. They want to raise your taxes. And all that we built, it's very fragile. Somebody can destroy it pretty quickly if they don't know what they're doing. We are taking care of our veterans. We are taking care of our military, and we will soon be more powerful than we have ever been before, our military. Our military is being rebuilt at a level that nobody can even believe. New planes, new rockets, new missiles, new ships, new satellites. Under Republican leadership, America is booming, America is thriving, and America is winning because we are finally putting America first. But everything we have achieved, and it's monumental, is at stake in this election. Democrats want to erase our prosperity and reverse our progress. In less than 1 week, Americans will go to the polls in one of the most important elections of our entire lives. Although I will say, not as important as 2016. I'd like to say, but not really. Republicans want strong borders, no crime, no chaos, and no caravans. Democrats want open borders, and they want to invite caravan after caravan into our country, which brings crime upon crime. A vote for Democrats is a vote to liquidate America's borders, and it's a vote to let meth, fentanyl, heroin, and other deadly drugs pour across our borders, drugs that take the lives of think of this, over 70,000 Americans a year. If you want high taxes and high crime, vote for the Democrats. Vote for the Democrats. And the wall is being built. We just spent $1.6 billion on a big section, another $1.6 billion now. We have another $1.6 billion coming. But we want to build it all at one time, not in little pieces. But we're getting prepared for the caravan, folks. You don't have to worry about that. Getting prepared for the caravan. And they got a lot of rough people in those caravans. They are not angels. They are not. You saw what happened 2 days ago with the Mexican military and the Mexican police. You saw what happened there. How tough the opposition is. We're tougher than anybody. We're tougher than any force. And we're probably going to have to be, unfortunately. I tell them, turn back, and they're not going to be released. It's called catch, but we take the word release out. We're not releasing anymore. Catch. We have no choice. If you want low taxes and low crime, vote Republican. This election is truly a choice between results and resistance. How about their whole theme? Obstruct, resist. What the hell do you get out of that? Resist. They want to resist. Great, resist. It's the only thing they're good at. They resist, and they stick together. That is true. They stick together, great. But that's about it. They're bad policy, bad politicians, but they do stick together. Between greatness, and this is really an election, between greatness and gridlock. It will be gridlock. And it's a choice between an economy that is going strong and setting records at every level, and the Democrats who are going absolutely crazy, folks. They're going crazy. So you have to go out on November 6th or sooner. Who voted? Who voted? Oh, wow. Everybody voted already? No kidding. Let me see it again. Who voted? Then what the hell am I doing here tonight? Goodbye, everyone. What am I doing here? Boy. But actually, you see all the people back there? Looks like the Academy Awards. I call them the Academy Awards. And by the way, I have to say this. You have some very good people also as reporters and journalists. I know some incredible people. You have some that are not good at all. You have some very good people, too. I want to say that. You have some very good people. We are honored to be joined tonight by many great Florida Republicans, including a man who's so great to me on television. This guy is special. He was a great businessman. Now he's a great congressman. Francis Rooney. Where's Francis? I love him when he defends me. He's brutal. He gets the job done, right, Francis? Thank you, man. Thanks, Francis. Another man, great talent, young, handsome, going places. You talk about defending, he's fantastic. Matt Gaetz. Thank you, Matt. Great job. These guys on television are very proficient, I have to be honest with you. A man who people love and the state loves. A congressman who's done a fantastic job. He's always there, works so hard. Gus Bilirakis. Gus. Thank you, Gus. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Along with the next congressman from Florida's 17th district, Greg Stubbe, Greg Stubbe, and your state's chief financial officer. He watches all that money that pours in. Jim Petronas. Jim, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Jim. You know, they don't tell me where these people are sitting. You got this place is thousands of people. I sort of have to guess. But we get it right. We're especially proud to be joined by the next United States Senator from Florida, Governor Rick Scott. Great guy. Governor Scott is doing a truly incredible job leading your state's Hurricane Michael response, all of the hurricanes, all of the problems. He takes a problem and he turns it into an asset. He is an unbelievable talent. He works harder than anybody, always calls up with good news. Yeah, I've got this one taken care of, that one taken care of. He really is, he's a talent. And we send our prayers to the Florida Panhandle, people we love, and everyone in that storm's path. That was a tornado that was 50 times wider. That was brutal. We went there, we visited, we had houses ripped off their foundations, and even the foundations were gone. Nobody's seen anything like it. Together, we will ensure that Florida comes back stronger than ever, already happening. And you remember our hurricane last year, the response that we gave was A+, and Rick and everybody in Florida did a phenomenal job. Rick and Ron also worked closely with us to pass legislation to build a reservoir south of Lake Okeechobee. That was an expensive one. To clean Florida's water. That's a big one. That's a big one. Those two guys worked hard on that. Rick Scott is one of the best governors in Florida's history. He's considered one of the best governors, maybe the best governor, but one of the very, very top elite governors anywhere in the country. And if elected, he will keep the Florida boom in full swing. Rick Scott always delivers for the people of Florida. Rick Scott, please come up. Rick.
Good evening. Are we not honored to have President Donald Trump in Florida? We want him every day. So let me tell you about your president. In the last year, we've had 2 hurricanes. Every day he calls me. Every time I call him, he says, "What do you need?" "I'll do anything you want to take care of your citizens." There is absolutely nothing that I've asked from Donald Trump with regard to these 2 hurricanes that he hasn't come through. Let's give a big round of applause for your president. So Hurricane Michael was horrible. About 30 mile wide, 150 mile an hour winds, 14 foot of storm surge. But guess what? People from all over this country came down here and took care of our citizens. They brought food, water, generators, tarps. They did everything to take care of our citizens. And you know what? They didn't say, "Oh, what party are you?" No, they said, we're going to help every citizen in this state just like your president did. They did it. Everybody came down. We can do the exact same thing in Washington. We can bring this country together and make this country the place where all of us can be proud of.
Governor Rick Scott is now speaking. The president. We were wondering, Jane, whether he would relinquish, the president would, the microphone to Rick Scott, and I assume maybe Ron DeSantis later. Generally, the candidates who are running locally speak before the president, but the president had that grand entrance, and now he's introducing the candidates. Rick Scott in a very, very tough race with Bill Nelson, the veteran senator. We talked about it earlier today. You can't watch TV for 15 minutes in this market without seeing 4 or 5 commercials for both of them.
That's right. So the president, when he first came out, we were expecting to see, like you said, Governor Rick Scott, maybe Ron DeSantis, kind of warming up the audience. But that audience had been sitting there for a while. So the payoff was instant. It was big. As soon as the president walked in front of that black curtain, got that crowd riled up once again. Hertz Arena filling up about 7,000 people plus the folks on the floor right there with a front and center stage view of the president right there by the podium.
And we expected the president to go up at 7 o'clock. That's when it was supposed to start at the Hertz Arena. Instead, we saw him at about 7:30 or so, 7:35. He had arrived on time, as best as we can tell. Our reporter Sam Sosa was outside the Hertz Arena when the motorcade arrived. So I guess he did some back in the schmoozing in the back. With
and we saw him relish the crowd and take in the crowd as he does, and he does a lot of the finger pointing and thanking his constituents and the supporters for showing up. And so it seemed like they both relish that moment of him just taking it in with all that, the music piping in loud and clear into Hertz Arena. So we are talking over, obviously, Governor Rick Scott as he pitches his platform.
Getting back to what you said a moment ago, I don't think I've ever seen a Republican in that kind of setting not point. You know, that's sort of like the politician move where he's or she's pointing to a sign or whatever the case may be. But he's being very gracious right now in giving Governor Rick Scott, who's in that really tough race with Bill Nelson, this much time. And again, we thought it would be the other way around. This is a state that Donald Trump only won by 100,000 votes.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot. It's not. There were millions upon millions of votes cast and only 100,000 votes. He knows, not only the president, that he needs allies in the Senate, he needs allies in Congress, but he knows that he needs Florida probably when he runs in 2020.
That's right. And that's why he's coming back to Florida this weekend.
That's
Pensacola.
Right.
He's going to be rallying up in Pensacola on the weekend.
I was curious that he stuck to the script in the beginning.
Sure.
He
wanted to pay tribute to the folks in Pittsburgh and the victims there.
And also the victims of Hurricane Michael. He chatted about that for a while. And then I think that was the end of his prepared remarks, because it appeared at that point where he went off script. But he is giving love to all the Republican candidates there. And you can see Governor Rick Scott here again in that tough race with Bill Nelson, getting a lot of face time.
Yeah.
In an arena where the president asked how many people have voted early, and almost everybody yelled, "I have." So it was kind of a
surprised, too.
Kind of a funny moment, because you have to think, well, am I here for a reason, or did everybody vote already for us? But I think he thrives on that boisterous crowd there, that energy.
That support, that passion for the Republican Party, and it's what we expected to see there as well. We have a very large Republican constituency here in Lee and Collier and Charlotte counties, and so as expected, Hertz Arena filled up quickly. Let's go back to the president right now.
I know him well. He wants to go right now. Back to work. He wants to work. Rick is running against far-left Democrat Bill Nelson. You know that. A vote for Bill Nelson is a vote for Chuck Schumer. Remember this, Chuck Schumer, and they want to enact the radical agenda of Nancy Pelosi. During his 3 decades in Congress, Bill Nelson has developed one of the worst voting records of any lawmaker. Nelson voted against your tax cuts. He voted against virtually everything that we want, including regulation cuts. He voted against Neil Gorsuch and against Brett Kavanaugh. Figure that one out. Bill Nelson voted against Kate's Law, and he voted to support deadly sanctuary cities that release drug traffickers and violent predators into Florida communities because Bill Nelson wants open borders. We don't want open borders. Our country can't survive with open borders. If you want a leader who shares your values and who will fight for your families, you need to get out and vote for Rick Scott. Now, I'm really talking about the people on television because everybody in here is voting. All the people on television, vote for Rick Scott. Finally, I'm thrilled to introduce the next governor of Florida, a great gentleman, Ron DeSantis. Ron is a veteran, and he's a patriot, and he will continue the incredible jobs boom. And boom, you just look at what's happening to this state. This is my state also. Look at what's going on in the great state of Florida. He'll continue what Governor Scott began. Florida's economy is one of the hottest anywhere in the nation, anywhere in the world, and Ron DeSantis is going to keep it that way. Ron will keep your taxes going way down, jobs going way up, and he will always support our veterans, our military, and our law enforcement. Ron, come on up.
Okay, now you're seeing Congressman Ron DeSantis in that very difficult race with Tallahassee Mayor Andrew Gilliam. And again, the president being very gracious and providing some FaceTime for the congressman.
Ron stepping up with his wife, a former journalist, up in Jacksonville, where the congressman represented the area. We do understand that our phones are ringing. Some of you at home are calling in and voicing your concerns and complaints, if you will, about us not airing or allowing Governor Rick Scott to speak completely and have your attention.
And in this case, Ron DeSantis as well. And it's only being fair. I think we could explain to the audience that the reason why we don't do that is because if we have one candidate, we have to give somewhat equal time to the other candidate. It would be unfair, especially in a race like this. So apologies, but this is how we do it in the newsroom, and that was the decision made. And we're watching Ron DeSantis right now, talking about this really tight race between Ron DeSantis. There are 9 polls, Andrew Gilliam leading in at least 6 of those polls, some of them in the margin of error. Ron DeSantis is leading in 2 of those polls, and if you look at all of them, there's one that's actually tied. So in many aspects, if you put in the statistical margin of error, it's a very tight race. I looked at the polls today. One has Andrew Gilliam up as much as 7%, another one as much as 6%, another one as much as 5%. And then there were a couple of Ron DeSantis was leading by as much as 3%. So, and we saw what happened in 2016, Jane. You know, all the polls said one thing and it went in a different direction. I think people have more cell phones. They're not at home. You just can't call them. You don't really know where they are. And, you know, so the polls can be skewed. And we saw what happened in 2016. I mean, Hillary Clinton, I think it was 86% she was supposed to win, and it went the other way around. So you really never know until Election Day. And that's why it's so important to vote.
And you're talking about single digits, and that is very tight as it is. So this could go either way. So again, apologies to you if you wanted to see Governor Rick Scott's remarks in full, as well as Ron DeSantis's remarks in full. We are covering the rally as the president is in town, and we will take his remarks completely in full and let you have that.
Yeah, and we should say as well, if it were the other way around, if this was a Democratic rally, we'd do the same thing.
Right.
And if it was President Obama or President Clinton, whoever it might be, we would do exactly the same thing. And I think by now, Jane, most people have decided which way they're going to go. We talked about how divided this race is. I don't think there's a lot of undecideds. I'm sure they're out there. I think I saw a poll that there was as many as 4 or 5% are undecided. So if you know who you're voting for now, and it's Ron DeSantis or Rick Scott, you pretty much know where they
You
sit.
already know. And we speak of polls. Some people pay attention to the polls. Some people don't even, are not swayed either way by paying attention to the polls. You just want to see where it's gauging. And interesting, though, this is as tight as it can be, which, again, is one of the reasons why President Trump is in town to try to see these two candidates to the finish line.
Well, you and I have covered races over the years in different markets, and I don't think I've ever seen an electorate in the midterm be as energized on both sides of the spectrum. I mean, I have friends on both sides of the spectrum, and they are heck bent on voting come election day or before, and they're very vocal about who they support.
We've heard both sides also say how important this election is, if not more important than the others, because this really sets up Congress. And the House is already strong as far as Republican representation goes, but the Senate and then the presidential election, of course, coming up in 2020. Well,
let's face it, the Senate is most important. We have some Supreme Court justices who are older. And they could very well, retire or decide to retire. I mean, it really is an important race here because the Republicans have a razor-thin majority right now in the Senate. And even though it sort of leans a little Republican because there's more Democrats running for Senate seats than Republicans running this year, that really is a battleground there. I think even the president, in a private moment, would concede that the House, unless the polls are absolutely incorrect, and sometimes they are, we saw that in 2016, but the House more than likely will go Democratic. I think this is a battle really for the Senate.
Absolutely, yes, which is why, and the Nelson-Scott race is going to be interesting to watch come Tuesday.
We've seen the commercials, I mean, and they've gotten, I think, more vitriolic as time has gone on. I'm thinking of a couple in my head now, but it really has become a sort of a brutal race and a fight to the finish.
As we continue watching Ron DeSantis speak here at the podium, I am looking at our email, our inbox, get flooded from your emails at home, talking about the folks, the candidates coming up to the mic and our decision not to air their comments. We are waiting to, we are miking up our news director currently as she will explain the decision for us as a station to do this, as the president is in town, but he is stumping for the two Republican candidates, Ron DeSantis and Governor Rick Scott.
Yeah,
obviously. Can we open up Sarah's mic? Can we open up Sarah's mic? Sarah,
can you guys hear me okay?
We can't hear you.
Okay,
I apologize. I'm not connected like you guys usually are, so you won't be able, I can't hear the control room. But it is important, and we know that a lot of people are calling our station right now. They want to know, why am I not hearing the candidates? I want to hear the candidates. And I'll just be frank and honest, not to steal your name, Frank, but just to be honest with you, we have an FCC license, and it requires that we give all candidates, all current running candidates, equal airtime. So what you're seeing right now is we know the importance of bringing you President Trump while he is in our town. Sorry, I ran in here, so I'm a little out of breath. But we know the importance of bringing you President Trump. What we can't do is just give unequal open airtime to current running candidates. So what we're doing is we're bringing you everything we possibly can because we know it's important to you. But we also have booked sit-down interviews with both Ron DeSantis and with Gilliam, and we'll bring those to you at a later time when it's equal.
Okay, that is Fox 4.
I hope that makes sense for you folks at home.
It does. That is
FCC rule. We cannot bring you unequal open airtime for currently running candidates.
We're just doing our best to keep everything balanced, but we do know it's important, and that's why we're bringing it to you.
Okay, Fox 4 News Director
Thank
Sarah
you,
Zack.
Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Let's go back to the president.
Socialist who wants to turn Florida, frankly, into Venezuela. Get used to it. That's what's going to happen, too. Andrew Gilliam wants to take a wrecking ball to one of the most successful economies anywhere in the world, the Florida economy, with massive tax hikes, crippling regulations, and a socialist healthcare takeover that would destroy your state. Andrew Gilliam wants to throw open your borders to drug dealers, human traffickers, gang members, and criminal aliens. And Gilliam supports deadly sanctuary cities. He wants to abolish ICE, and he signed an extreme left-wing pledge that supported an end to all borders. Oh, that's great. That's what we want. Let those people pour right in, folks. Let them come enjoy you on your front lawn. Andrew Gilliam is too extreme for the people of Florida. You're not gonna take it long. History of Tallahassee, you know that. And Gilliam is weak on corruption. Tallahassee is among the most corrupt cities anywhere in the United States. Is this really what you want in the state of Florida? Is this really what you want? And I have to tell you about Bill Nelson for a second. So he's running against our great Rick. I'm in Florida a lot. I have a lot of different things in Miami and Palm Beach, and I stay here, and it's a great place. But I never see Bill Nelson. I never see, I was commenting on it the other day. I'm here a lot. I never see Senator Nelson, ever, until 6 months before the election, and then you don't see anybody else but him. You never see him. And he's just a vote for Schumer. He will always 100% vote for Schumer. He will never, ever vote for what we want. So Bill Nelson and Andrew Gilliam would be a disaster for Florida's economy, your jobs, your safety. The people of Florida are going to reject socialism and elect Ron DeSantis and Rick Scott. A majority of Democrats on the ballot for Congress have already signed up to support a socialist takeover of health care that would destroy Medicare, eliminate Medicare Advantage for nearly 2 million Florida seniors. The Democrat plan is especially unfair to Hispanic Americans. 1 out of 2 Hispanic seniors is enrolled in Medicare Advantage. You know that. Republicans will protect Medicare for our great seniors who have earned it, and they've paid for it. They've been paying for it. And we will always protect Americans with pre-existing conditions. Always, always. The Democrat plan also raids Medicare to fund benefits for illegal aliens at the expense of our seniors, people of Florida. As we speak, the Democrat Party, you notice I don't say Democratic, I say Democrat, because that's their name, even though the other flows so much nicer. The Democratic Party, they should change their name and send me a check for giving them some free advice. But it's not the Democratic, it's called the Democrat Party, is openly encouraging millions of illegal aliens to break our laws, violate our borders. You see what's happening right now because they won't give us any votes on border security and overwhelm our country. And they want to sign them up for free health care, free welfare, free education, and the right to vote. And the Democrats want to continue giving automatic birthright citizenship to every child born to an illegal alien, even if they've been on our soil for only a matter of seconds. Hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrant children are made automatic citizens every year because of this crazy policy, and they are all made instantly eligible for every privilege and benefit of American citizenship at a cost of billions of dollars a year. That's what it costs, billion. Back before the Democrat Party went crazy, they also opposed this practice. Harry Reid said, no sane country, quote, no sane country would grant automatic citizenship to the children of illegal immigrants. That's what he said. That's before he went crazy. Under this policy, anyone who breaks into our country and has a child, the very next moment that child would be made a citizen for life. Great. This policy has even created an entire industry of birth tourism, big business, where pregnant mothers travel to America to make their children instant American citizens. Congress has never passed a law requiring birthright citizenship for illegal aliens, and the Constitution does not, I say that to the media, does not require it. Read it. Because illegal aliens are not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. Democrats also support the insane policy of catch and release, which has created our border crisis, or certainly helped. A Democrat victory on Election Day would be a bright, flashing invitation to traffickers, smugglers, drug dealers, and gang members all over the world. Come on in. That's what you're saying. Republicans believe our country should be a sanctuary for law-abiding Americans, not for criminal aliens. And the Republican Party will always stand proudly with the heroes, that's what they are, heroes of ICE, Border Patrol, and law enforcement. And I saw that yesterday in Pittsburgh. And yes, we will finish the wall. It's moving along. We want to do it fast. Want to do it much faster. But watch what we do. Instead of building a little bit of a wall down there very quickly, watch. You watch, watch, watch. It's going to be very interesting over the next week. If you want safe communities and strong borders, vote for Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis. This election is about safety, and it's also about prosperity. Florida manufacturing jobs are growing at their fastest rate ever recorded. Earlier this month, I announced that we are replacing the horrible NAFTA deal with an incredible brand new U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. USMCA, folks, USMCA. Great deal. We opened them up. We've also taken the toughest ever action to crack down on China's abusive trade practices. And we're winning. Very big. We're winning. Very big. After years of rebuilding other countries, we are finally rebuilding our country. Thank you very much. And every day, it's promises made, promises kept. You know that. In fact, one of these fine people said recently, you know, actually, he's promised certain things and he's fulfilled more than he's promised, which is true. Which is true. We passed Veterans' Choice for many, many years. They were trying to get it, giving our veterans the right to see a private doctor when they have to wait online for weeks and weeks and weeks, get sicker and sicker. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? We passed Veterans' Choice. They've been trying to get it passed for 44 years, and I got it passed 2 months ago. Now they see a line and they go to their doctor. We pay the bill, and boy, it works out great. They're very happy. And the landmark VA accountability law to ensure anyone who mistreats our veterans has to be accountable. In other words, you're fired, get out. We secured $700 billion and $716 billion to fully rebuild the United States military. And I know most of you don't care about this that are in the military, but we gave our great warriors their largest pay increase in over 10 years. I know you don't care about that. And at my direction, the Pentagon is now working to create the sixth branch of the American Armed Forces, the Space Force. So important. That's where it's at. It's all about space. Very soon, it's going to all about space, and we're going to be stronger, as we are almost everywhere now, stronger than anyone by far. Together, we've made extraordinary progress, but we are just getting started. If you vote Republican this November, we will continue to cut your taxes, cut your regulations, and raise your incomes, which is what we've been doing. We will protect Medicare, and we will protect, just like I've been saying since that first debate, we will protect your Social Security. With all the pressure, we have protected your Social Security. Remember, I made that promise. Remember, everybody else said, oh, we have to do something. I've been saying we're going to protect your Social Security. Guess what? We haven't let anyone touch it. We will continue to confirm judges who will interpret our Constitution as written. And we will fully secure the border. Watch. We will pass Kate's Law and stop sanctuary cities. We will stop catch and release. We will end visa lottery. How about visa lottery? Pick a name, come on into the country. And we will end chain migration. Birthright citizenship. You know all about it. We will keep the criminals, the drug dealers. We will keep them all out of our country. We will get rid of all of this. We will end, finally, birthright citizenship. It's costing us so many billions of dollars. People didn't want to bring it up. I said, we have to bring it up. Everybody knows. Everybody knows for many years. But for years, you watched as your leaders apologized for America. You now have a president who is standing up proudly for America. We are standing up for your values. We are standing up for Florida, and we are standing up very proudly for our great national anthem. You don't hear too much about that anymore, do you, folks, huh? You don't hear too much about it. But to continue our incredible momentum, you must go out and vote for Rick and Ron. Loyal citizens like you help build this country, and together we are taking back our country, returning power to you, the American people, which is true. It's been your movement. This has been your movement. We stand on the shoulders of brave Americans who crossed the oceans, tamed the wilderness, secured our independence, won 2 world wars, and put a man on the face of the moon. Not bad. American patriots defeated fascism, vanquished communism, delivered millions into freedom, and Americans built the greatest country and the most powerful military in the history of the world. These courageous Americans did not shed their blood, sweat, and tears so that we could sit at home while others tried to erase their legacy, tear down our history, and destroy our proud American heritage. We did not. For the sake of our freedom and for the sake of our children, we are going to work, we are going to fight, and we are going to win, win, win. We will not bend, we will not break, we will never give in, we will never give up, we will never, ever, ever back down. We will never surrender, and we will always fight on to victory. one people and one family with one glorious American destiny. We all share the same home. We all share the same heart. We all salute the same flag, and we are all made by the same Almighty God. And I want to thank all of the people of Florida. This is such a big group, but outside we have more. And a lot of people were just saying, don't bother coming. This is such a great honor, because together we will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Florida. Thank you.